She thinks she's won. He's still with her. But what if I told you there's a moment, a silent psychological shift that changes everything without you saying a word? It's not about fighting, begging, or chasing. In fact, the less you do, the faster he starts pulling away. This is the moment men emotionally detach, often before they even realize it. Carl Jung called this the point where desire collapses under certainty. Attraction doesn't die because of conflict or mistakes. It dies quietly when emotional tension disappears. In the beginning, he chases. He invests. He's drawn to mystery, challenge, and subtle emotional spikes. But the moment predictability, comfort, and over-availability take over, something inside him shifts. He stays physically. He shows up. Yet emotionally, he begins to drift. By the end of this video, you'll understand how this invisible force works. You'll learn how emotional tension sustains attraction, why over-certainty kills desire, and how to create psychological leverage without manipulation. Stay with me, because the first step is seeing the exact moment men detach, and why it happens silently, beneath awareness, long before anyone notices. Most people believe men leave because something went wrong, an argument, a mistake, or a better option. But the truth is far subtler. Men often detach long before anything external changes, and it begins with the collapse of emotional tension. Carl Jung explained that the human psyche does not act logically first. It moves through feelings. Desire, attachment, and attraction are all deeply tied to emotional dynamics, not convenience or comfort. Men are wired to respond to challenge, mystery, and subtle scarcity. When emotional tension is replaced by certainty, attraction silently erodes. This is why the perfect girlfriend often loses him, not because she's bad, but because she gives too much availability, too much comfort, too much predictability. Emotional security is powerful, yes, but in excess, it triggers unconscious withdrawal. Understanding this psychological foundation is critical. It's not manipulation, it's insight. By recognizing the invisible triggers that control emotional investment, you see why overchasing never works, why comfort kills desire, and why the subtle dynamics of scarcity and mystery matter more than words, gestures, or effort. Once you grasp this principle, you begin to understand the framework behind attraction, withdrawal, and silent emotional shifts, setting the stage for the next steps in mastering psychological leverage. Attraction isn't built on comfort. It thrives on tension. Emotional dynamics are subtle, invisible, but they determine whether a man stays engaged or begins to drift away. Carl Jung emphasized the interplay between desire and possession. When a man feels he has fully possessed a relationship, his unconscious mind disengages. This is where comfort becomes danger. When a woman is too predictable, always available, and emotionally transparent, the emotional tension that fuels pursuit collapses. Men begin micro-comparing without even realizing it, scanning for intrigue, novelty, and mystery elsewhere. It's not cheating. It's dopamine seeking a subtle challenge. Memory editing plays a role too. Men unconsciously rewrite past experiences based on current emotional states. What once felt exciting may now feel flat. Emotional complacency replaces curiosity, and the spark diminishes. Not because of her faults, but because of the loss of tension. Understanding emotional dynamics is about seeing the invisible architecture of desire. The right balance of availability, challenge, and mystery creates pull. Over-certainty creates emotional distance. This knowledge lays the groundwork for the psychological blueprint. the triggers and withdrawal techniques that can subtly influence attachment without overt effort. At the core of emotional influence lies the psychological blueprint, the subtle triggers that shift attachment and desire. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding how the male psyche responds to emotional dynamics. The first principle is emotional tension. Men are biologically wired to desire what they cannot fully possess. When a woman creates a sense of mystery by being selectively available, maintaining independence, and withholding certainty, she activates this instinct. Too much comfort, too much predictability, and attraction silently diminishes. The second principle is the contrast effect. Men compare feelings, not logic. When the routine relationship feels flat and another presence evokes curiosity, excitement, or challenge, their attention shifts naturally. They begin replaying past interactions and imagining what could have been, which plants the seed of subconscious desire. The third principle is scarcity and selective engagement. By giving just enough attention to remain memorable, but not fully accessible, a woman triggers unconscious loops in his mind, pulling focus from routine bonds toward the unknown. These triggers work together to create the silent shift, the psychological undercurrent that makes him question the relationship he once took for granted. Once you understand this blueprint, you can see attraction as a dynamic flow, controlled more by subtle emotional architecture than overt words or actions. The silent withdrawal is where subtle psychology transforms into psychological leverage. It's not about anger, games, or ghosting. It's about strategic disengagement, being present but emotionally restrained, visible but unavailable, warm but distant. This phase works because men are wired to pursue what they cannot fully possess. When a woman withdraws selectively, she creates a void, a subtle tension that draws attention, curiosity, and emotional energy back toward her. The withdrawal is never obvious. It's clean, calm, and consistent, avoiding accidental engagement like liking posts or over-texting. During this period, he begins to notice differences. Routine interactions with her feel predictable. Your absence, mysterious. The contrast between what he expects and what he experiences sparks internal replay loops in his mind, memories, curiosity, and longing. The key is discipline and consistency. Each unanswered text, each delayed response, each moment of subtle distance strengthens the emotional pull. You are no longer a given. You become a question he wants to solve. This phase sets the stage for the next psychological layer, the replay effect, where memories, nostalgia, and imagination intertwine, making him increasingly invested without direct manipulation. The replay effect is the subtle art of occupying a man's mind without saying a word. Once emotional tension has been created through selective withdrawal, his subconscious begins replaying past moments, memories, and interactions. Every laugh, every playful challenge, every subtle emotional spike becomes a mental anchor he cannot ignore. Carl Jung emphasized that the human psyche is drawn to unfinished narratives. When a story feels incomplete, the mind loops endlessly, searching for resolution. This is why a man begins idealizing what once existed, especially when the contrast between routine comfort and emotional intrigue is stark. Nostalgia anchors can be activated naturally. A post, a shared memory, a lyric, a style, or even a color associated with past moments can trigger internal reflection. The key is subtlety. It must feel organic, not targeted or manipulative. Emotional ambiguity fuels imagination, allowing him to fill the blanks with his own longing. As he unconsciously reconstructs your presence in his mind, he compares it with his current relationship. Routine feels flat, predictability dull, and emotional inertia grows. The replay effect amplifies the pull created by scarcity and tension. You memorable, idealized, and psychologically magnetic, long before any direct interaction occurs. The final shift is where psychological leverage becomes permanent influence, without manipulation. When he finally reaches out, confession, nostalgia, curiosity, you must hold an unshakable emotional frame. This frame communicates, you may have access, but you don't own me. It's critical not to collapse the mystery. Overenthusiasm, immediate validation, or emotional flooding signals availability, undoing all the tension you've built. Instead, respond calmly, warmly, but with subtle distance. Allow him to earn emotional connection. Delayed reciprocity reinforces desire. He invests, you match, never the reverse. This phase ensures he does not regress to complacency. Every interaction now is a choice he must make, not a certainty he takes for granted. You preserve self-worth, maintain tension, and subtly encourage him to commit out of genuine interest rather than obligation. Carl Jung described this as the psychological posture of autonomy and individuation. Being fully yourself, yet unreachable without conscious effort. When executed correctly, the final shift turns fleeting curiosity into lasting obsession, transforms emotional memory into desire, and solidifies your presence as the woman he cannot forget, all without chasing, explaining, or overgiving. This is the mastery of emotional influence. Subtle, clean, and irreversible when combined with scarcity, tension, and the replay effect. Let's recap the key principles that control attraction, desire, and emotional influence. These are not tricks. They're psychological truths rooted in human behavior and Jungian insight. Emotional tension over comfort. Men are drawn to what they cannot fully possess. Predictability and certainty extinguish desire. Attraction thrives on subtle challenge, mystery, and unpredictability. Scarcity triggers interest. Availability diminishes value. Selective engagement makes you memorable, mysterious, and magnetic. He begins to chase the woman who doesn't give herself fully. Contrast amplifies desire. Your presence must stand out against the dullness of routine. When he experiences emotional spikes with you, he compares it unconsciously to the flatness of his current relationship. Replay effect, nostalgia anchors. Memories, emotional moments, and subtle reminders allow him to idealize you. Unfinished narratives create loops in his mind that build longing. Unshakable frame. When he reaches out, hold emotional authority. Respond calmly, delay reciprocity, and let him invest first. Never collapse mystery or chase. By mastering these principles, you stop over-giving, chasing, or explaining. You maintain control over emotional dynamics, create tension, and let him do the psychological work, while you remain elevated, independent, and unforgettable. By now, you understand the invisible dynamics that control attraction, desire, and emotional influence. You've learned about emotional tension, scarcity, the contrast effect, the replay effect, and the unshakable frame. These are not tricks. They are insights into human psychology and the subtle forces that govern attachment. Remember, he doesn't leave because of conflict or mistakes. He leaves, or begins to emotionally detach, when certainty replaces challenge, when comfort replaces tension, and when routine replaces intrigue. By mastering these principles, you can subtly influence emotional loyalty without chasing, begging, or overgiving. The key takeaway is this: you hold the silent power most women never discover. When executed correctly, every withdrawal, every moment of selective engagement, every memory anchor strengthens desire and curiosity. You do not manipulate. You allow psychology to work in your favor. So take a step back, trust the process, and observe the shifts. Hold your frame, maintain your independence, and let the replay effect do the work. When he finally chooses, it will be on his own terms, drawn to the woman who remained mysterious, elevated, and unforgettable. This is the mastery of attraction, grounded in understanding, not desperation. And it's the ultimate form of freedom in relationships.